Hi, Kris.
Hey.
Hey. Thank you so much for being the part of this hackathon.
It's great.
I've seen your performance. It's really, really stunning, and I
Thank
think
you.
we all loved it. We really loved it.
Oh, that's kind.
I think all the audience has also seen the streaming, but I was streaming it.
Yeah, I just noticed actually that I was like, oh, blimey, okay, cool. That went out live too, right?
Yeah, right. So could you like briefly break down the thing? What was during your performance? What have you performed with your gloves?
I will. That's going to seem like I'm miming now. You're just gonna have to imagine brilliant music happening. So I play the MI.MU glove. So I use this gestural technology to use quite sometimes quite abstract gestures to create sounds. I can interpret any kind of movement to be any kind of sound. For example, I have songs where I play the drums. I'm playing the drums like this. I have a song, not that I did it here, but I have a song where I'm playing the guitar as if I've got like an air guitar, which always really bakes people's noodles, to use the expression. People are like, whoa, this is air guitar. This stuff I was doing today is a little bit more abstract gestural stuff, so you would see me doing my bouncy ball bass thing where I'm sort of throwing a sound. And the lights on the gloves, if these were set up, they would be bouncing between my hands, and everyone goes, oh, the lights move. Like, you think that's the clever bit? This is complex stuff, but everyone goes, wow, they light up. It's amazing. So yeah, so I used it in a kind of a live loop thing. So I create a gestural instrument, and then I recorded it, and then I add some layers onto that. So it's that kind of approach is what I did earlier. A lot of people ask me about that because I don't know how obvious it is that I've played a bit, I've recorded it, so I'm recording things into loops basically, because I could never get on with loop pedals with my feet impairment, so now I have a little button in my gloves which is my looper. If I want that button to be a looper, it doesn't have to be a looper, but that's how I use it.
So this is personalized for you?
How it's mapped is personalized to me, yeah, sure. The gloves are a blank canvas to then you map.
All right. So you are developing these gloves together with Drake Music.
Developing
right?
the approach to the gloves. Yeah, so we were the first team to use them in an accessible context. Because of my impairment, I have cerebral palsy, which was affecting my movement. So we were using the gloves to try and overcome that.
All right. So would you say that MI.MU changed something in your life as a musician?
Yeah, I think that would be a really modest way to put it. My career was like, I thought I was done. I thought I was on the scrap heap because I was really struggling to play guitar and play the piano because my impairment had kind of got a lot worse. My impairment is on my right-hand side of my body, so my hand had got a lot tighter and I had all these cramps and issues. So when I got MI.MU gloves, it was... MI.MU gloves weren't designed to be as accessible, inclusive technology, but the potential that Drake Music saw in them was that Imogen Heap had kind of accidentally invented this extraordinary breakthrough, because what could be better than a technology that learns the user rather than an instrument that you have to learn? I mean, my piano lessons were stopped at school because I was struggling with my hand, and it's just like, well, this isn't for you then. And that's not a good way to think about music.
Sure. Do you think that devices like MI.MU that their scope and their power could be even bigger if it was supported by some cool software solutions?
Well, I think the cool thing with Glover is the software that sits behind what's going on, and that is taking input of what movement I'm using and then what do I want to come out of it. So any gesture can be any sound, and then you just send that to your music software, and it works like with any kind of... I use Ableton Live, you could use it with any music software. But yeah, it's an elaborate MIDI controller, but your computer just sees it as another kind of interface. People get excited about it because it's a very futuristic way of interacting with your music. People think of like Minority Report when he's like moving the stuff around on screen with the computer. People say to me it's really Tony Stark, in Iron Man, where he's interacting with the computer, because everyone's really fascinated. There's momentum for gesture. People are intrigued by the idea that you could take a sound and turn it around and do this stuff. A simple thing I did in the demo today was like playing a sound with this hand and then pointing to the speaker, and the sound follows where I'm pointing. And it's a simple trick, but it kind of gets people thinking, oh, okay, this is...
And it's really impressive and nice to watch it.
Yeah, it makes sense. People go, oh, right, that's what that is. Like if I do a close-up demo, I have a thing where I'm doing like a beat, and then if I'm like doing this one-on-one, I'll just like turn it down. And people go, oh, okay, I get it.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Right. Kris, I know that you are also a blogger, and you are documenting the entire journey of the project.
Yeah.
Are there some milestones in the MI.MU project that you would like to share?
Milestones in the project. I remember the first kind of thing for me was really just the complete opposite of a milestone. Is just getting them home and just being like, oh, what have I done? This is like, I'm coming at this from the perspective of being a guitar player and sort of pretending I can play the piano. I certainly wasn't a technically super savvy person when I started this project. So the idea of programming something and doing all this work, at first I was like, oh, what have I done? You know, because I felt like I owed it to Drake Music to really deliver on something, and I, you know, met Imogen, and Imogen's one of my favourite artists anyway, so it's pretty extraordinary to be doing all this stuff. And then I was like, now what do I do? But once I got into the breakthrough for me was understanding that, like, in the studio I play all these different instruments and I have this really elaborate studio sound, and then I'd go out and play guitar with, like, playing a song on an acoustic guitar. Like, the whole thing just boiled down to some chords. It's really, really limiting in retrospect. And the idea that suddenly it was like, wow, I've got all the sounds. Everything I do in the studio, I can have it. Do I want some big strings? Well, I'll just play them like this, and I can have my big drums. And once I could do that, in terms of career milestones, obviously I couldn't have predicted how exciting the interest would be in terms of it captured people's imaginations. I mean, you know, when I was preparing for the first tour, I did some like primetime news bits, and I didn't think it was that big an event, you know. But people were really, really got it, you know. It's like, oh yeah, you're the gloves guy, right? You know, it kind of, yeah, it really happened. And then, you know, obviously doing the UK tour was extraordinary, and then I went to Europe for a bit, and then last summer going to the US to do the Kennedy Center, and it's like, wow, you know, I've just become a full-time touring musician in a space of time where 2 years before that, 18 months of touring, rewind another 6 months, I was ready to jack it in. I thought my days of live performance were pretty much done. So to say this technology has given me a new kind of scope as a career is just impossible to overstate.
As far as I know, Drake Music generally works to make some solutions that enable musicians with disabilities approach music. So to break down the barriers between people and music. Is it also somehow connected with your motivation to join today's hackathon?
Yeah, because I see this all the time. This is like, I do a lot of these kind of events. I attend a lot of hackathons and music tech events all over the world. And this is the really exciting bit for me, is to connect these brilliant technology minds with this problem that there isn't most musical instruments are not easily accessible. If you've got, like, it's frustrating to me that playing music is a dexterity challenge. Ultimately, an instrument requires dexterity. That if you've got an impairment, I have a very bold vision about the music that I want to make, but I can't physically access that very easily through traditional routes. So the inventiveness of seeing technologies at hack events like this, how they could be applied for disabled people, is just so extraordinary. And I've seen some really, really great success with really interesting hack tech space people solving access barriers for people who thought that they would never access music.
Right. You know, I also know some funny fact from your life. Are you prepared?
Right. Is there a funny fact in my life?
I know that you and Kelly from Gloves, that you guys met on a hackathon. Actually.
Yeah.
It was also a hackathon when you met for the first time.
That is a good obscure reference. Well done. You do your homework. Cool. So I think that's how the glove thing started, because Kelly... It's funny, Kelly and I were chatting about the fact that she was like jet lagged and she had loads of stuff going on, and she was like not going to this hackathon, and then a last minute, oh, maybe I should just turn up. And if she hadn't, well, I wouldn't be sat here now. There's no career to talk about. It was just a last minute thing, because Drake Music has these hackathons, right, and these hack spaces, and she went along and was like, oh, I do this with Imogen Heap, and yeah, the light bulb went on. For Gowan Hewitt is the tech guy at Drake Music. He had the original kind of vision of, wow, this could be something, you know, in terms of accessible tech. And then I remember over a beer at Imogen Heap's house, we were showing the gloves for the first time, and Gowan mapped it all out. He was like, 5 years from now, you're going to be like touring internationally, you're going to be the first glove-only artist. And I was like, I haven't even opened the box yet, mate. Like, what, are we sure about this? And then, yeah, sure enough, something slotted into place, people's imaginations connected, and there we are.
Right. Could you also present the gloves like from every angle to the audience?
Yeah. So what's going on with the gloves? There's this processor at the back here, which is called the Exos, which is doing things like finding out the position of the glove. So, for example, we have what we call pitch, which is the height of the glove. That's not pitch as in sound necessarily, but pitch as in the height. And then there's what we call the roll, and then there's what we call the yaw, which is this angle. So it's tracking that movement all the time. There's these bend sensors here which work out what am I doing? Am I making a fist? Am I pointing? And then that feeds the artificial intelligence, which says, oh, it's this. So, for example, I did that thing with the feedback at the start. So I'm moving my hand through here, but I don't know how many people got this, but I was moving my hand and there was no sound to demonstrate the fact that we have what we call qualifiers. So actually what I was doing was, this will only work because when I'm talking to you, I'm gesticulating all over the place and I don't want to accidentally make loads of noise. So it'll say, we'll set a qualifier. So I'll say, right, I'm going to do this to create feedback swells, but only if this hand is also doing this. Right, so there's a little, what we call a qualifier. So this hand, the computer says, oh, okay, so if that's pointing and this is doing that, then let's do this. So once you get into that sort of layering system of qualifying events, still with me? This gets a bit abstract. This is the stuff when I first started, I was like, what? But it makes so much sense because you're in a space where you can't see anything. I can't say, well, if you sit down to the piano where you can see where the keys are, right? This is all in an abstract space. So you need those kind of rules to say, well, this is that. And then the great fun is that you have what we call scenes. So then you get rid of those mappings, and then that's when I go into my other stuff. So I'm doing my bass, or I'll go and do my little violin solo or whatever. So that's the really fun thing. Not only can you create all these gestures and all this interesting stuff, then you can get rid of it and you can put some new stuff in there. So in a song, I mean, I don't know how many instruments are in that piece, maybe 7 or 8 different things. But I mean, even if I could play all those instruments, well, that's a lot of kit and a lot of room on stage, right? To just go, right, now I've got a bass or whatever. It's incredible.
All right. Kris, you are a really inspirational person, and I am just wondering...
I did a very British tut then. Like, I do this with... There's this thing of, like, people going, oh, it's really inspirational. And I've learned that, yeah, actually, I better stop complaining about that because it's not for me to decide what people put on the work that I'm doing, right?
Yeah, all right, but where do you get your inspirations from? Where are all the ideas?
I nick everything from Imogen. Have you heard of her? She's got these MI.MU gloves, right? Yeah. No, my inspirations are, apart from Imogen, who was a massive influence on my music before I started this project. I come from a heavy metal background, actually. Whoa. So, like, like Metallica are like the most important band in the history of the universe in my head, and also really interested in electronic music, but one of the things for me is like getting the weight and the sort of heaviness. That's why I've got those big chunky guitars in it, because I didn't want to, when I first started doing this, I was just triggering little synthy sounds. I was like, this isn't enough kind of stuff, weight to these things. But yeah, that's what inspires me, is a lot of heavy music. And I was really inspired obviously by I'm really inspired by a lot of female artists. Huge Bjork fan, huge fan of Imogen, huge fan of Tori Amos. They really influenced my thinking, both as a songwriter and as an arranger, and just having like delicate sort of layers of things. So just a sort of bad Metallica Imogen Heap tribute act is kind of where my career happened.
Right. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
Keep
very
up
much.
good work.
Thanks.
Thank you.